Hello, everyone. Semi retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today, I'm super excited. We have John with us today. Go ahead and say hello, John, and introduce yourself to my audience.
Hi, everybody. My name's John. I'm 56 years old, and I've been doing carnivore for 6 months now. To put things in a little bit of perspective, I'm 6 feet tall. When we get to the weight part, that'll hopefully make a little bit more sense.
How did you find the carnivore diet, John? I mean, did you find it recently? Have you been doing carnivore for a while? Tell us your story.
Yeah, so my story goes back. I mean, I'll go back a ways. I was always a relatively healthy, kid growing up. Throughout school, played sports, normal weight, average weight. And even through my 20s, I stayed active. I got very into cycling for a while and rode hundreds of miles a week. But then towards my 20s, I put on a little bit of weight, but I was always able to manage it. And in my 30s, I gained a little bit more weight, got into the mid 200s, about 240 or so, and was able to drop that weight and got back down into the 180s, 190 range. But then somewhere around 2002, the end of 2002, I started gaining weight. And I got up to the mid 200s, 260. And then in 2003 is just, really when I got into 250, 260, up to 270. And I just started gaining weight. And at that point, mid 30s, I just wasn't able to lose it anymore the way I used to when I was in my 20s and even early 30s. So it was probably in the 2008 or so, 2010, I was still active. Even though I was overweight, I still went hiking. I played tennis a couple times a week. I was an avid scuba diver, so I went diving literally every weekend. And I really thought that I was a relatively healthy overweight guy. But you can't be that heavy, at least not for me and my body, that heavy and be truly healthy. Even though I didn't have any prescription drugs, I didn't need to take anything. I, at the time, didn't have high blood pressure or anything like that. And this just went on for quite a while. And I had a couple little wake up calls where I went hiking with some friends, with my wife, and I just couldn't keep up. My wife is fine. She was able to keep up, and I just physically couldn't keep up with the group that I was with. And then even one time when I was playing tennis with my brother, who's 6 years older than me, I just could not keep up. At being 270, 275 ish at that point, I just struggled, and I started to realize I'm not such a healthy overweight guy. And I bounced back and forth in the 280 range for probably a decade or so. And it just became more and more uncomfortable. And then eventually I started gaining weight again. And this is after many times losing weight, gaining it back, losing 30 pounds, gaining 40 pounds back, and just constant yo-yo dieting. And I've tried everything from Weight Watchers to being a vegan to shakes and juicing and all the different, diets that are out there, and nothing ever worked. So then jump ahead a few years. It was 2017. I actually got offered a job that I need to take a physical for, which is common for my field of work. But I went to take a physical, and at this time I was about 295. And I went in for the physical, and the doctor really was he's like, took my blood pressure. There were some other issues, and my blood pressure was a little bit too high. So they had me sit in a room, turn the lights out, just leave a small light on. He wanted me to go see a specialist for another issue, and then just kind of race over there and race back. And this was the first time that it really kind of woke me up that I'm almost 300 pounds and I'm sitting in this room trying to calm down to lower my blood pressure, really just sitting there thinking, am I going to be able to get this job? That was one of my main, worries at that time, is have I let myself go that much that I can't get a job that I've had for the past, or types of jobs that I've had for the past 10 plus years. So came back, they took my blood pressure. It was just under whatever their rules said that it needed to be. I went off to this other specialist. I came back. They had the results. And basically, at 295, I just barely met all of the requirements for the job. So he did sign off on it, which was great. But, that was one of those times where I was just like, all right, I've really got to lose weight. Started this job, thought I was doing well, losing weight, did that for about a month or a month and a half. And then it was the day before Thanksgiving on 2017, where I wanted to go to Thanksgiving and not worry about what I'm eating. And I thought because I was dieting for the last month or month and a half that I would be okay. And where I was working, we had a scale that would weigh pallets to put in shipping containers. I knew it was accurate. It got calibrated every year. So it was in a pretty remote spot. So I went out day before Thanksgiving, just shorts and a t-shirt, nothing else, emptied my pockets and stepped on the scale. And I was 298. And I couldn't believe it. I ate whatever I wanted on Thanksgiving. I just had that in my mind, and I skipped breakfast. I only had the one meal for the Thanksgiving dinner. Had that, came home. This was about 3:00 in the afternoon. And then I went home with another plate of dinner because they had so much food left over, and met some friends. And then I just felt like a little bit hungry or craving something at about 8:00 at night. So I had a little bit more. And the next morning I just woke up and just felt terrible. I felt literally, I just felt fat. I was tired. I was stuffed, but I was still kind of hungry, as bizarre as that sounds. And I wondered what I did with, to myself. So the day after Thanksgiving, I drove out to that same scale, same exact clothes on, did the whole bit, and emptied my pockets, stepped on the scale. And that was the first time I broke 300 pounds. Not the first time, the only time I broke 300 pounds. And I couldn't convince myself that my shorts and my t-shirt weighed more than 3 or 4 pounds. I was clearly over 300 pounds. It was the morning after, the whole bit. And again, I tried losing weight. I spoke with a physician's assistant and worked with them on trying to lose weight and do the different diet things that they would recommend. And at that time, I tried I tried again to go vegan, vegetarian. One of the recommendations was for breakfast every morning, instead of eggs and bacon or anything like that, have something healthy, which was oatmeal with raisins and honey. So I literally had that for breakfast for basically a year straight. Tried to lose the weight, followed as close to their diet recommendations as possible. And 8 months later, I was about 3.25. So I had put on another 25, almost 30 pounds. And it was just a constant yo-yo. When I got to that weight, I again lost a little bit of weight, gained it back, got to like 340. And this whole time, it kind of, went like a yo-yo. And the worst part is that when I hit the 300-pound threshold and surpassed it, my body didn't like that. I was borderline pre-diabetic at that point. When I was over 300, I was right at my A1C was right at like 5.6. I had high blood pressure. I had been kind of denying that for a while, but I just couldn't do it anymore. So I started taking blood pressure medication. They my triglyceride my cholesterol was a little bit high, and they wanted to put me on a statin, and I said no. That was the first time that was recommended, and I knew I had sleep apnea because I had snoring that just got worse and worse again as I gained the weight, and it just nothing was working on the standard way of losing weight. So this just kept going on, and it was just kind of demoralizing to gain the weight, lose the weight, gain more back. And I remember even back in 2017, there was no way I was going to hit 300 pounds. That's just not me. I was relatively healthy till my mid 30s, but it happened, and I was battling it for so many years, trying to figure out a way, and it just wasn't happening. So you kind of jump ahead a little bit more. And then in 2021, I had 3 issues that came up that really just kind of hit me upside the head like a 2x4. In early 2021, my wife videotaped me while I was sleeping because she said that my snoring had gotten really bad. So I was sitting there watching the video, and I'm watching this large round thing in a bed. Honestly, I had no idea what that was at first until I saw my neck and realized that was me, and just absolutely gasping for air, and a truly ungodly sound of gasping for air, and then a horrible exhale, and then just silence. I just stopped breathing, and then a while later it would be the same thing, just this gasp for air. And that was obviously very concerning because I had never heard anybody. It wasn't even snoring at that point. It was just a gasp for air. So I decided, I need to go for a sleep study. So I went for a sleep study, and the technicians didn't tell me my score, but they said that it was pretty bad. I need to get with my doctor right away. I definitely have sleep apnea. So that was about literally 6 o'clock in the morning, because I had slept at the sleep study facility, and went home, had breakfast, and about an hour or two later, my doctor called, and he wanted to see me that day. And this is a doctor that you need about a month notice to get an appointment with. And I was in the middle of moving from one city to another city that day. That was going to be our first trip. And I just couldn't get in there. And so the woman that I was speaking to on the phone asked me to put me on hold. They put me on hold. And then when she came back, she said, all right, the doctor really wanted to see you, but he understands, but he's putting in the prescription right now for a CPAP machine for you. He wants you to get this right away and start using it. Don't put this off. And there's kind of a little bit of an urgency in her voice, and kind of the same at the sleep study center. So the couple hours later, the sleep study, or not the sleep study, but the store that sells the CPAP machine called and said, they have my machine. When can I come and pick it up? And I told him the same thing. I'm moving today. I really can't get in there today. We'd be probably driving by in that area, maybe around 5:30, but I don't know what time you close. He closes at 5, but he said he'll wait for me. So he waited for me. I got there about 5:30, trained me on the CPAP machine for about 45 minutes. So he really waited, and he again kind of impressed it upon me that you really need to use the CPAP machine. And to put it all in perspective a little bit for those who aren't familiar with sleep apnea and sleep studies, severe sleep apnea is 30 or more episodes per hour. And my score was 88. So it was pretty high. And that's kind of why everybody was, a bit concerned about my situation. So I got the CPAP machine. I literally started using it that night. And in the last 2.5 years, the only 2 nights that I haven't used it are when I had to travel and I had to pack it away because I couldn't bring it on the plane, or I was literally traveling overnight and had no way of plugging it in and using it. So that was the first one in 2021. And then July of 2021, I went and I needed to have a colonoscopy done. So the facility that my doctor usually performs the colonoscopy at wanted to do a pre-screening. And they said, you can't have the procedure done here. You're too overweight and your tongue is too fat, basically. And they have to put me under anesthesia to knock me out to do the procedure. And they said, if my tongue basically goes numb or whatever the terms they used, it could just fall to the back of my throat and block my airways. I need to have this procedure, this minor procedure, done in a hospital. So had the procedure done in a hospital. Thankfully, nothing went wrong. But it was just, that was the second one that just really kind of shook me a bit, where I can't deny that being at that time 360 pounds, that was my heaviest. And being 360, my body was just rejecting everything healthy at that time. And then literally the next month in August, that's when we found out that my wife was pregnant. So I was 54 at the time, and that was like a couple 2x4s upside the head. I'm going to be 55 when we have this baby, which is a blessing. But I had gotten so unhealthy that I had high blood pressure. At this point, was pre-diabetic. Sleep apnea was obviously very severe. I had to constantly adjust the machine, and we're going to be having a baby in 7 or 8 months or whatever the time was at that point. So I had to do something. And once again, I turned to typical diet methods. Lost about 15 pounds, but that 15 pounds took about 1.5 years. Then I doubled down and tried to lose more, and I lost another probably 10 or so pounds. And I just struggled the whole time. And in the back of my mind, kept thinking, how am I going to be here for my family, for my wife and 2 girls? At this rate, losing the weight that's not coming off it's going to be years before I'm under 300 pounds when I was somewhat healthy and was able to be somewhat active. 300 plus pounds, I struggled, especially when I hit the 360. I struggled to get off the sofa. Just everything becomes a chore physically at that point. So then literally in January, I started praying, asking for some guidance, for strength, whatever I need to figure out how to start getting healthy again. So I started Googling everything health-wise, healthy lifestyle, healthy diet. So just anything that would pop into my brain, I started Googling and try to find, and just all the usual same stuff that I've been trying for the last 20 years kept popping up. And at this point, I kind of said put this in my mind that this is the last year, no matter what, that can be overweight. And I said, if I can't lose the weight this year, I would consider gastric bypass surgery or something to get this under control. And to me, medication and doctors are the two, or not doctors, but medication and surgery are the absolute last line of defense. So I had that kind of thought process in my mind when I'm looking in early January. And then finally in February, I saw this thing called keto. I'd heard about it, didn't know too much about it, but I started finding that. I started doing that. That kind of made sense, and I thought it might be able to work. It was something different that I hadn't tried before. And one of the things I remember trying was, oh, great, I can have pizza. I love pizza. So I can have a keto pizza. So I tried that recipe and realized after eating the keto pizza, I just still want real pizza that I'm used to. So that just wasn't really that much of an option. And then thankfully, after watching a number of keto videos, these two doctors popped up. And I don't know if they were doctors, but this is just kind of the state of where things are. But this one guy popped up on a TED Talk and was talking how every human being is different. Every person and every diet needs to be catered directly for that one individual. And just went on. His entire talk was, there's no one diet that's good for everybody. So at the end of that, I was sitting there thinking, oh, great. What do I have to go get tested for everything to see what's going to work for me? I was like, that's going to be expensive. And then the way YouTube is, YouTube rolled over into the next video, and another expert came on and said that we are all humans. We all need the same diet. We all need the same nutrition, and could not have been more polar opposite than what the previous guy just said. And these are two experts. So I just kind of laughed and just kind of felt a little confused at that point. But then thankfully, and I don't remember which doctor showed up first, but I think it was Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Chafee. They all kind of came up there on YouTube, and I just took a deep dive into all of that. And it made sense. They had science behind what they were doing. And then just some other channels popped up, which, a couple big ones were Laura Spath, Rigno Freedom. You popped up. A bunch of nutritionists and just the whole carnivore community started coming up, on my YouTube channel. And I just felt that was it, that literally my prayers were being answered. And while I was still about 98% sure that I wanted to do this, but not 100% yet, I saw Anisha Berry and Dr. Berry with their new baby, their baby is just a few months younger than my wife and I, than ours. And I saw them doing this as a couple, as a family, with their kids. And that really struck a nerve with me. And then also I saw Laura Spath and her husband, and they have 2 kids. And they're making this work as a couple, as a family, with 2 kids. My wife and I have 2 kids. So it just really struck a chord. And I just said, that's it. That's what I want to do. So my wife and I had a conversation. She saw a number of the videos that I watched, and that was throughout February and March. and then said, all right, this is what I want to do. I think I can do this. I think this is the right way for me. And so I called my doctor, said I wanted to get lab work done. So I had a baseline and get some lab work done. He said, okay, fine. He did, at this point didn't know what I was doing. I just asked for the blood work. And he put the lab work in, the order in. I had it done. Then when I met him to find out where everything is, I was, still had high blood pressure, pre-diabetic. My sleep apnea was still terrible, certainly not good. I was still adjusting the machine constantly, and just didn't feel well or healthy at all. But had that baseline, and then just said, all right, Saturday we're gonna do this. So Friday night had pizza, had ice cream, had dessert, and just had the usual regular garbage food one last time, and then got up Saturday morning, March 25th, and had bacon and eggs for breakfast mid-morning, had a steak for dinner, and that's pretty much the way it just rolled on from there. And I just, next day was the same thing. And, we had been shopping, so we had bacon, eggs, cheese, beef, pork, just all shrimp, salmon, just to cover all the bases, and have variety. I thought I was going to need variety at that point. And that was the start. And it just kept on going. And I could not believe after a week, 2 weeks, how much better I felt. It really shocked me, because some of the channels you think are hyping it up a little bit, maybe for YouTube or something, and they're not. I couldn't believe how good I felt. And so that was it. And I just kept going. And the first 2 weeks weren't rough. I didn't have any major mistakes or anything, but I had some, runs to the bathroom. I did get a little bit of carnivore / keto flu for a little bit, but nothing terrible. Eventually started taking electrolytes and just kept going. And, the first month I lost a little more than 11 pounds. Then the next month, another 11 pounds. And then the third month, that was a little bit of a learning experience. That's when I found out and realized cheese will hold me up, especially when you eat entire wheels of cheese, of brie cheese. So I only lost a few pounds on that one.
Other than just the immediate weight loss that you've seen, first of all, tell us how long you've been doing carnivore now. I think you said you started in March.
Yeah.
But can you give us a rundown of everything you've noticed improvement in, and just how's life going now that you're into it?
Sure. Yeah. Now I'm a little bit more than 6 months in now. I'm down about almost 47 pounds. I've had a couple months that I did have a hang up. That third month was a hang up, and actually last month, the month of September, was another one of those. But it has been absolutely incredible. Energy wise, the first month was fantastic. I did have a little bit of a dip in the second month energy wise, but then by the end of the second month, it started going back up, and it has literally just been climbing steadily every month since then. I have felt so much better, and the only way I can describe it is literally carnivore has cured so many things that I didn't know were an issue. I have not been able to breathe through my nose since I was 20 years old. 80% of the time, I couldn't breathe through my nose. That's completely reversed. Now it's probably 90% of the time I can breathe through my nose. And that was one of those things where I just thought that's just the way my body is. Doctors said could be an allergy, but who knows what it is. Basically just accept it. That's it. I've got a little bit of arthritis in my neck. That's been gone. Shoulder pain that I've had for 10 plus years that I thought was from sleeping and the way I sleep by putting my arm up or twisting, that's gone. I've been going to chiropractors since I was in my 20s on a semi-regular basis. I haven't been to the chiropractors since the second month on Carnivore, and there's no sense that I will need to go back right now unless I throw it out or do something to my back. My blood pressure, I'm still on the blood pressure medication because I'm still at about 281, 282 pounds. So I still have a bit more to go. But my blood pressure, I've weaned myself off the blood pressure medication to the point of every third day. I don't have to take it every day or even every other day. I'm down to every third day right now. And I've kind of just done that on my own. I haven't seen my doctor again since. I did see him 2 months in, and he was not a fan of this diet, but the 2 month in that when I saw him, he couldn't believe it. He just said, keep doing what you're doing, because at that point I had dropped over 22 pounds. My A1C dropped to, in 2 months, dropped under pre-diabetic, right under at 5.6, but it dropped back down. Blood pressure is improving. Sleep apnea in the past 2 months has gotten so much better. I still sleep with the CPAP machine, but I don't have to adjust it anymore. It's at a steady setting, and basically every night is 2-3 episodes per hour, which is fantastic for me. There were nights that I would spike up to 15, 20 episodes, even with the CPAP machine, in the beginning, the first few years. So just there's such a list of non-scale victories on Carnivore that honestly I'd have to check a list. I have a list, and every now and then something else pops into my head that I just didn't think of that isn't an issue. I always had itchy ears. That's a bizarre thing, but that's been gone now for months. I just realized that a few weeks ago, that I'm not scratching the inside of my ear, anymore. It's just been incredible. And, for the most part, as far as what I eat is triple B and E, beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. I'll throw in sausage every now and then for breakfast. Sometimes it's a steak, ground meat. We'll have pork on occasion, salmon, shrimp, just change it up. And I want something different every now and then, but mostly I'm just perfectly happy with having a steak. And sometimes I want chuck roast, and I'm good with that for a week or two. And then all of a sudden I want top sirloin, or I want, something else, just different meat wise. And then other times I just kind of want ground meat and put a couple eggs over it. But for the family, we'll do the pork, chicken, and I'll still do a steak with a piece of pork, things like that. And I have not been perfect on Carnivore. I've strayed a few times, but that is in my plan. I don't call it a cheat because I haven't cheated, but if there's a special occasion, I'm looking at this for the rest of my life, because I need to be there for my wife and girls, and I need to be around for the next 25 years. I don't want to die when our little girl is not even a teen, or even when she's 20. So I need to be around for a while, and every time I goof up, like going to the wrong restaurant or something, which is what I did last month, I learned from it, and I just have to change it. It took 2 weeks to correct one meal. It took 2 weeks to correct, but it did. I did a couple fasts, 48-hour fasts, and that got my body back into the swing. And even as bad of a month that September was, I still dropped 4 or 5 pounds. So I really can't complain. I'm under 300, and I haven't been under 300 pounds in nearly 6 years. So I couldn't be any more thrilled with that.
So are you getting, obviously you have kids, you have a wife, you have a job, all that kind of stuff. Other than that, Are you doing any intentional movement slash exercise on top of everything else, or are you just letting your daily routine give you your movement?
Not as much as I'd like, but some time ago I did buy an e-bike. When I shopped for a bike, I was struggling to find one that could handle my weight first off, and then I found an e-bike that I could, at the time, almost fit on. I was like, all right, I can lose that 15 pounds and get on that bike. And I bought an e-bike, and I ride it mostly like just a regular bike. I don't use the motor very often. But part of the thinking behind getting an e-bike for me, since I was a cyclist or I rode bikes a lot in my 20s, I really wanted to get back to that. I knew I loved it. And the comfort of having the motor and some battery and be, if I go for a ride and I'm 10 miles out, and this happened once where I rode like 7 days in a row and I got tired. I got about 4 or 5 miles from home and I was just exhausted. And that was the first time that I really said, you know what, this is what I bought an e-bike for. I set the throttle and I still pedaled all the way home, but it was nice to have that assist. And I didn't have to worry about that dreaded phone call of calling my wife and saying, "Hun, I can't get home. Please come pick me up." And that's literally one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to get an e-bike. And it's been fantastic. So I do that. I try to do it every morning for about an hour. And then on the weekends, my wife and we try to get out for a longer ride for 2-3 hours. It just really depends on the schedule. So I'm trying to incorporate that more and more. That's the biggest one. Every now and then, my wife and I will go for a walk after dinner or in the evening, which at my heaviest 2 years ago wasn't an option. My knees were hurting really bad. And I would literally get to the end of the street, which is a short street, not even a quarter of a mile, and my knee would start bothering me. And we'd make one lap around the block and I'd be done. So we do that now every now and then. And so I'm trying to incorporate a little bit more. I would like to start putting tennis in there as well. I don't like exercise per se, but I like certain sports, playing tennis. If I could do racquetball again, not right now at this weight yet, but sometime, at least volley and just do some things and just be able to be active even with our teenage daughter. So that's the sum of it right there, pretty much.
Well, John, we've come to that point in the interview where I tell you that you are sitting in front of my audience. Anything I've forgotten to ask you that you'd like them to know about you, feel free to talk about that. And I would also like you to take just a moment. And if there happens to be somebody watching that is on the fence about whether or not to try a carnivore diet, what would your top piece of advice to them be?
I think we covered most all of the bases. The carnivore diet is truly surprising. I thought it was a little bit nuts in the beginning. So if you're on the fence about this, or maybe you just started and you're not sure if it's worth it or not, it is. The first few weeks may be a little bit challenging. There may be some bumps in the road, like changing any way of life. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's your diet, exercise, job, anything. But if you're thinking about carnivore, do it. If you think you need some vegetables, have some vegetables. Like I said, for myself, I haven't been perfect on it. I have strayed off from time to time, but I go right back to it the next day. And sometimes it'll take a few days to get your body back in the swing, but it is worth it. It is something that is almost undescribable how much better you feel eating this way. Energy-wise, it seems like it'd be a restrictive diet, but it's not. I don't miss vegetables or salads at all, even though I've had one or two, but I have no desire. I literally, it's not a craving, but I just truly just want steak for dinner most of the time. If I want chicken or seafood, 2 weeks ago, my wife and I had steak and crab legs. anything you can go to a restaurant for, you can eat on Carnivore any animal product. You want cheese? Cheese is one of those hold me overs. If I want my ground meat and I want a little bit of blue cheese mixed in there, I do it. It's fine. It doesn't mess me up. I have to watch how much cheese I have, but give it a minimum of 60 days. Do Carnivore. Even if you can only do 30, I think you'll be amazed how much better you feel. But if you can do 60 or 90 days, it will blow your mind and surprise you how much better you feel.
Thanks, John. I do appreciate you being here today. Now, tell us all of the stuff about John. You've got a Less Junk, More Health YouTube channel. Are there any other social medias you'd like us to know about, or are you primarily doing YouTube at this point?
At this point, it's just YouTube. I do have a Facebook page, Less Junk, More Health as well. And the email is lessjunkmorehealth at Gmail. But Facebook page, I've posted some pictures of my food and what I've eaten. I haven't dedicated too much. The YouTube channel is brand new. I don't even have 100 subscribers or anything yet. I think I've got 80 something, and that's pretty recent. I have maybe 10 or 12 videos. I haven't gotten into the bicycle riding on the channel yet. I'm still talking about how incredible the diet is and the way of eating and the lifestyle is. I will expand into the cycling if anybody's interested in the e-bike and why, and go into more detail. That'll be coming up, but it's the YouTube channel and just literally trying to spread the word as much as possible. People need to find out about this because it is truly can be in so many ways better than medicine.
Okay, well, thanks for being here today, John. I really appreciate it. Don't forget, everybody, get down in the comments. Thank John for his time. You can see the link to his channel there, and I'm going to have that link down in the description. So all you have to do is click on it and go find his channel. Let's head on over there and give him some support because he's doing some good things over there on this channel. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better. Today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. We'll see you in the next one.